Well, hello everyone. I want to close up just by recording a final video just to chat with you about some of the final steps and just pull together some of the stuff that we did this term. So just to start off, we're pretty much done, right? So pretty much all you need to be doing is putting together your final project, which is due on the 10th at 11:59 p.m. So of course, get in touch with me if you have any questions as you're doing that. There are 3 surveys that I've put up on Canvas, which are important to complete. The first is your self-evaluation of participation. The second is your evaluation of participation within your group. And then the third is a optional survey just gathering your opinions about the course, and that's for extra credit. I use that information to just make the course better next time I teach it. So I appreciate any feedback that you can have. It's a very small amount of extra credit, but if you're close to the threshold, it might push you over into the next grade bracket. Who knows? So those are the 3 things that are also in addition to the project due on this coming Monday. There will also be a survey that will be put out about the course in general that is used for the university, and I'd appreciate if you fill it out. They use that for evaluating my performance and the course and stuff like that. So it's helpful for you to do that if you can. So please do attend to that. You'll be getting a link to that in your email from the university. So. Anyway, a few things. First off, thank you for all the work that you put in this term. I think that the projects, the presentations that you gave in class were really impressive. I really appreciated the thoughtfulness that you put into them, all the information that you assembled to address a real important clinical question. And one thing that really was nicely illustrated in that is the process that you go through in terms of starting to answer those questions, in terms of thinking carefully through what the literature says and what it suggests and does not suggest about how to move forward about an issue. And I hope that as you go forward that you'll find that the skills that you learned doing that are actually helpful for you. I think that the projects also nicely illustrated essentially the types of ideas that we've been trying to work to develop in this course. So first off, the idea of research. How do we develop and understand a question, right? How do we make a good question? It's a really challenging thing to do. To develop a PICO question that really precisely addresses something that we need to understand in the clinical context in a way that we can actually effectively answer it. And you all did a nice job of increasingly refining those PICO questions as we went throughout the term. Then you have questions about how do we do the review process? How do we gather that information? How do we analyze it? How do we pull out information that we need to know? And how do we think about fairly and accurately assessing the bulk of the literature that's out there, especially given all the biases that we find in literature and the ways that things are published? So thinking about some of those issues in a practical context, in a clinical context, is actually kind of a helpful exercise for us as a class. I think that we also did a lot of work to think about how we integrate some qualitative and quantitative information. So we did work to understand those qualitative papers. We did some interview type activities in terms of our research project for the class. So we began to think about how that information can illustrate the important aspects to a question. And then we also looked at a lot of elements to quantitative research as well. How do you collect data? The data collection, your sample. How do you design surveys to answer information? How do you read a quantitative paper to understand the different components to it? Qualitative also, so that you understand how they collected that data. So there's a lot of different things that came into that we saw in the projects as well that were helpful, and also in our research project that we did throughout the term. And then finally, we also spent some time thinking about how we analyze data, both qualitative and quantitative, and how do we take those findings and understand them in terms of what their meanings and recommendations are for how we change practice. And by doing that, that allows us to look across multiple papers to understand what the most likely answer is in those situations. So I think you all did a really nice job of that. I think your projects demonstrated those different skills. And I also really appreciate the energy that you put into it. And also for those of you who are a bit rushed towards the end, your sense of humor about that and willingness to roll with it and make it happen. You all did a really wonderful job. So thank you for doing that. So in terms of our course, there were really three main objectives. The first objective was understanding the research process. The second was finding research, being able to find research that's relevant to nursing. And the third was developing skills around both reading and assessing that research. And I think that both the project and the work that we've done throughout the term in terms of developing our scholarly knowledge of this area has really been wonderful in terms of demonstrating those skills. And the hope of this is that ultimately that we'll be able to develop skills that can help us actually improve clinical practice. And that's important to our patients to improve their care. It's important to our healthcare systems that we're working in, that nurses contribute to the dialogue around how to improve practices that we have. It's absolutely crucial. And then thirdly, it's hopefully important to you as well, both in terms of understanding the intellectual foundation of the work that you do, helping you speed up your process for being able to gather that information and gain critical insight into the information that you're using. And also, I hope, help empower you to use that information to make the workplace better for you and your patients, and actually change the system that you're working in. So that's about it. I think that the work that we've done this term is really important. I really appreciate your energy and effort that you put into it. I really wish you the best in all your future endeavors. And I hope that as you go forth, maybe it won't happen immediately, but as you go forth in your career, that you find that you can increasingly pull on and call on some of these skills that you've learned in this course to actually integrate evidence more into the practice that you're doing. So thank you very much again. I appreciate it. I've appreciated getting to know you a little bit, and I wish you the best, and I hope you have a wonderful break. So take care and be well.